Hi, everyone, and welcome to Presently Aqui with Claudia. I am your host, Claudia, and Presently Aqui is a community of healers where we talk about their journey to self discovery and self love. And as all of you know, how excited I get prior to every guest, and I am just as excited today as I always am. And so I wanted to introduce Valerie to all of you. Meet Valerie Maksym, a fighter who turned the challenges of divorce into an opportunity for transformation. After facing divorce for the second time, Valerie had to live alone for the first time in her life. Over the course of 7 years, she undertook the process of healing and finding her authentic self. Today, Valerie is a mother of 4, a grandmother of 2, an author, a life coach for women, and a nationally qualified NPC competitor. And so we're going to listen in to learn more about Valerie's journey to self-discovery today. Welcome, Goddess.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, wonderful. Yay. So before we start our conversation today, we are going to take 3 deep breaths together.
Okay.
With the listeners as well, so that way we can calm and ease whatever had happened before today and just get centered into today's conversation. So, so for the listener, if you want to close your eyes or put your eyes somewhere where you're not looking at anything specific, and we're going to take a deep breath together. And I want you to just be in your body and release. In your second deep breath, I want you to acknowledge all the thoughts and all the things that your mind's going through. And let go. In the third deep breath, I want you to be here now. Just be here. And let go of the day, so that way we can listen in to this beautiful conversation that we're about to have. Yes, wonderful. Amazing. So I like doing that because it helps us kind of just start over, right? From this moment moving on. So I can't thank you enough for coming on again. This is such an exciting opportunity to get to know you and for the listener as well. So I'm really excited because meeting Valerie, I loved you in your passion. Like it was just it's like oozing out of you, and it was just like, oh my god, I want to know more. So here we are.
Yes I get very passionate about it. When you've come out the other side of something that's so dark and that you're just you come out, you're just like, wow. I mean, there's no other way but to be passionate.
Yes, exactly. So I love that, and I was really inspired by her story, so I can't wait. So we're going to get into it. Goddess Valerie, what kind of challenges have you faced on your path to self-discovery?
Well, on my path, the challenges I faced would have started off at 12 years old. That was my first major challenge, being with my dad when he passed away. I was up with him that evening. He had leukemia. He was home for the weekend. And I was up helping him, and he fell, and he passed away right before my eyes. And so that was tough because we didn't talk about it the next day. So that was my first challenge of seeing that, witnessing that. My mom didn't know I actually saw everything because I was getting him to the bathroom. Yeah. And he fell. I ran to my room. She heard him. She ran to the bathroom. So she didn't think I saw that. Didn't know anything about me seeing that till 38 years later when I was 50 years old to address his passing. My next major challenge I had to get over, by that happening, I began having panic attacks. So from 6th grade through 12th grade, I just had panic attacks all the time. I became labeled as shy and quiet because I wasn't showing up my true self. I didn't heal. I didn't address the pain of it. Yeah. And by doing that, I met a boy right after high school who lived down the street. He was your bad boy. He was already in and out of jail at 17 years old. Met him. He gave me attention. I got pregnant, got married. And, that was the start of, the struggles I had to go through. And then being in a toxic, abusive relationship for 10 years with him. The final give for me to finally leave was one night he took me to his place of business with the intent of killing me. And so that was tough. So the next week after that, I was able to leave, just grabbed my clothes, my kids' clothes, and left. got out of that relationship. 6 months later, I was already with somebody else, married. My kids didn't have time to heal. I didn't have time to heal.
Right.
We were just, right back into another relationship that lasted probably 11 years. I have to look at it. 11 to 12 years. I always forget what it is. Got out of that relationship, found myself at 45 years old, like broken, panic attacks, you would say depressed, not my authentic self. I had never worked. I was always a stay-at-home mom.
Right.
Now all of a sudden I have to pay bills.
Right.
It was a very struggling moment when it all hit you. Like, okay, I left this relationship because just everything that just compounded from my past was like, okay, I just needed the time out. I just needed to, looking back, realizing, find me, figure out, who I was. I would just, and I think that happens so often. When one bad thing in a relationship happens, we want to find the next one real quick. Because I know after my second divorce, my intention was to find someone within 6 months to be married.
Right.
That was my full intention. Like, that's what I was going after.
Yeah.
And my counselor brought me into his office after we had divorced, and he's like, I really worry for you because you don't really know yourself. You've been through a lot. I feel like you need some time to heal and find you. And he said a whole bunch more things, and it was like, okay, I hear what he was saying, but I didn't want to hear it. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
And then I had some friends that said, I kind of see you being single for anywhere from like 5 to 10 years. I mean, that just made me mad. I mean, I'm like, we're not friends anymore. Like 5 to 10 years. What are you even saying?
Right.
Like, they were just like, you've never lived on your own. You went from high school to married. You didn't have those college years. You didn't have any years to learn to be on your own, to do the things you do alone, to, that you would normally have in those years. I never had that. So they're like, you need that. And I'm like, no, I don't. Looking back, it has been 8 years, and looking back this last 8 years, I mean, I know as we spoke before, my whole life is my journey.
Yes.
But I will say the last 7 to 8 years has just been enlightenment. It just has been like aha moments. It's been, kind of like when you're ready to hear the truth. You're ready to be like, okay, maybe I don't want to fake, like, hear all of it, but I do want to hear it because I want to change it. I want the rest of my life to be the best years of my life. And a friend of mine had this plaque in her bathroom that says, and they lived happily ever after. And I looked at that for years, and that has always stuck in my head.
Right.
That, whoever I end up marrying for the third time, because I will, for the third time, I will find love. I haven't really found it in the right way yet, but I will find it in the right timing. And I believe, and they live happily ever after will be my story because I'm doing the things that I know I need to do to heal and to attract the right, person in the right timing. I'm not pushing things. Not that anything is ever perfect, but I'm doing the things that I know that I need to do, at least on my journey. So that's kind of where I'm at today, right now, through my process of the main things that I have been through.
Right. And this platform is about deep conversations, but who is your esthetician? I want to age as gracefully as you have. Like,
you know what? That is funny that you say that because I don't have one. And I the only thing I do is a little Dysport in my forehead. And I look at all these women, I'm like, y'all are doing fillers and all these things. I'm like, I want to be able to do that someday because, y'all look so beautiful. And I guess I've just been blessed with, but you know what I do have to say? When you find a true happiness, I can't even explain it. I look at pictures even from 10 years ago, and I'm like, okay, I look so much older back then than I do now. Something about when that inside and you have true love and true joy and true happiness and true peace, it's not fake, it's authentic. You've transformed. I think that just starts you to glow because, I feel the same way when I'm talking to you. I'm like, you're just glowing. Your skin looks so great. I think it's just when you get to that point, that's all I can say is I would have to attribute it to that. Because they say stress kills you. So I think stress ages you and kills you. So
absolutely.
Learning we all have stress, but learning as you learn tools and you learn ways and you learn, I think when you learn self-help, what I've learned, self-love, when life hits me in the hardest ways ever, which it still does on a regular, I'm able to navigate it so much better because I know my worth, I know my value, I know what I bring to the table, that I don't internalize it as much anymore.
That's the key. That is the key, not internalizing it as much. And I'm glad you said that because That is the secret. When people ask, how do you look so young? And it's just self-love. It's really falling in love with not only like your mental self, your physical self, your spiritual self, like all the selves that are in this beautiful vessel. You have to deeply, fully love it, so that way you're right. Because what it is, you're glowing from the inside out. And so, for us, because we are in our bodies, I'm sure we can be in the mirror and be like, well, this is different and this is different, right? But it's because we live in this body 24/7, right? We know it better than anyone. For the most part, for the general collective, it's just like, wow, look at her. What is she doing? And it's loving yourself. It does, because what happens also, your body is listening. Let's keep it to the physical. If your body is listening, it's gonna react that it's being loved. Like, oh, you love me and you appreciate me. So I'm glad you definitely brought that up, because it is important for the listener to understand. One of the reasons to love yourself is because the exterior, the life that happens, is always trying to take away from the inner child, which is our secret. The secret is to keep in that space and be there and jovial and happy and keeping it light as much as possible, because life is always difficult, as Valerie just shared all her life's journey. And I'm also very thankful for you to dive in so deeply and personal into your journey. I know there's going to be listeners out there that are going to definitely resonate. And so for you, when you first had that conversation with your counselor, what did you feel in that moment as this person's trying to tell you, hey, I think that you should try to love yourself before you jump into the next? Like, what was your ego's reaction in all of that? And at what point did you kind of let it in?
Yeah. I was like, okay, that's good that he's saying that, but he doesn't know me. Like, I'm going to find somebody like in the next week or two and start dating. And, maybe that works for him, but that's not going to be me, because that hasn't been my track record. I've always been with somebody. I'm going to find somebody, and I'm just going to keep moving on with life, because that's just how it was going to be. And it wasn't very long after that I went to a friend's house. She was having like a get-together party with some girlfriends, and there was a lady there that was a life coach. And I had never heard of a life coach. I had only been to counseling, so I didn't really understand what that meant. And we just kind of connected. And I did a free call with her and bought 6 sessions. And I will say that and I didn't have the money to do it back then. I mean, literally I didn't have it. I put it on a credit card, but looking back, that was the best investment that I ever made in myself. I mean, ever made. Like, it was like I took literally like the last pennies that I had on a credit card to buy that. And it was like, okay, if anything goes wrong, I'm in trouble, because I just am all in. I am all in. But I really didn't even know how to navigate, or because I was listening to my counselor said, well, and I had another counselor friend in between this that was just a friend, and mentioned to me, in a kind way, that, you are the common denominator in attracting these things. So you might want to just start maybe thinking about that.
Right.
I wasn't very happy when she said that, but it was truthful, because why? Okay, I could just sit here all day long and play victim and tell you all the things they did to me, and you'd be, oh, that's terrible. You would just be all living in it, right? Hearing all of it. But the bigger question was, why did I allow it? Why did I stay? Why did I, why, what in me did not see my value and my worth to even allow them to talk to me or do the things to me? And so that was why I knew I had to have this life coach for the six sessions. And my very first session with her, if you've ever had life coaching, you have your first like assessment. It's kind of like you answer all these questions, they get to know you. I don't even know if I could answer 2 of the questions on the paper. And I just started crying, and I told her, I said, I think I made a mistake. I don't think this is for me, because I think I'm too far broken for you to work with me, because I can't even answer your questions. What's your favorite place to vacation? What's your favorite kind of food? What makes you happy? What, just all these things that I did not know. Like, you just live this whole life being told what to do all the time, and how to live and what to wear and, what to eat. You're going to share a meal, and then you get asked these questions like hobbies. Like, what does that even mean? Like, exactly. What, like, what do you mean when you say hobby? Like, I go to the gym sometimes. Like, I didn't understand even what that meant.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, I really probably do need to take a little time to figure out, because I really didn't know what I didn't know. I knew what I wanted. Yeah. And in my head, I just think, okay, I'm a good person and I love big, so I'm just going to find this. But it's way more complicated than that from what I found, because, it's not that just because I love so big that it was just going to all come back to me. Because a lot of times, what do they say? Your biggest asset can also be like your greatest, liability. Yes, because you love so big, so sometimes people will come in and play on that. Yeah. And it doesn't always get reciprocated back. So I kind of experienced that. But so taking the time out, I had no clue that 8 years later I would still be single. Right. But I will tell you, like I said before, I know this is my year to start dating. I don't know if it'll be the summer, the fall, the winter time. I don't really know, because I'm not. I don't believe in forcing things, so I'm not. And I know what I'm looking for because I'm so clear on it now. So it's very interesting when guys will ask you out and you'll go to dinner or something, but you already know in your head because you've done all this work for 8 years, so just the basic guidelines. I'm not looking for perfection, okay? Where none of us are perfect. So when I say what I'm looking for, it's not like, okay, that's so far-fetched, but your basic, 5, 6, 7 things. Like, okay, this is really important to me, and I'm not gonna, I'm gonna cave because I've worked really hard to, get myself here. And, so if it's not the right person, and I've been out with lots of great people, it's like, it's just not the right person, and I'm okay to just say, thank you, but I'm just moving forward and living my life. And that, to me, that's very empowering, because I don't know that Valerie, because that was never that Valerie. To be able to say that and just be able to be friends, if they still want to be friends, like, you're a great person. It's just, you just kind of know what you I can't explain it. You just know, you'll know.
Yeah, it's intuitive. It's intuitive. Yeah. We know.
But I've never had that before. I'm just the first person that liked me, because I was so broken. I'm like, oh, you like me? You want to date me? Okay, let's date.
Right. We've all been there. Yeah, I love that. I love your vulnerability and transparency, because it's important for women to hear, because, I feel like it happens worldwide, because there's a lot of culture that is predominantly based on patriarchy, right? And the woman just, either they're, arranged marriages, and they're like 20, 16, and they never get to know themselves, or again, not having that father figure, and you just not heal any of your wounds, and just whatever guy comes at you, you're like, okay, he likes me, he's attractive, let's just go. I think we've all been in that kind of loop of picking the same guy. And I love how you brought up that you learned that you're the common denominator, right? You don't want to hear that. Right. But it is the truth. The truth is really hard to take in, because it's what it is that you're being asked to be accountable, right? And when you've never done that, it's your ego is very resistant, right? It's just like, I'm the common denominator. Are you sure? Because it's all these guys, their fault, and it's like, but you're the magnet as the feminine, right? You're bringing that in, and so it's really powerful for you to share and speak on it, because it kind of, when you were saying it I hope that the women out there that are listening, because it made me, like, this energy came through when you were saying that. It's just like, it's okay that you notice these things, or it's okay that you were going through your questionnaire and that you didn't know a lot of aspects of yourself. It's okay, because even in that step for you, it was a big first step, and to be honest with yourself, even telling the coach, like, hey, I think I'm too broken for this. And the life coach is more than, like, no one is such a thing. It's just you've been courageous enough to just put your entire, like, credit, because not even money, to, like, invest in yourself. And right there you spoke to the universe and said, universe, I don't want to partake in this life anymore. I want to try this. I want to try to learn myself. Show me, what can I do, right? And I'm sure she was life-changing, this coach, because now here you are. And to be able, one of the things I told Valerie when she told me her story, I was quiet. And I told her, I'm like, I'm quiet because I'm so proud of you. I'm like, it's going to be weird because I just met you on our chat, right? I was like, I felt just so much proud. I was so proud, like if I've been your friend this whole time. It's just remarkable because your energy that's coming through, I can feel the struggle. I can feel the fight from you. I can feel, the dark spaces, as you mentioned from the beginning, right? The dark spaces where we are hating ourselves, where we're self-doubting. Like, I don't think that I'm good enough. I don't think all the bad things about ourselves. And for you to rise out of that, like a phoenix, just burning it down and not believing in that story and that loop of who you were, because the world told you who you were, and now you're just taking it and saying, no, I get to say who I am. And then when I go on dates, this is who I am. Right. And it's not going to change. So if you can't rock with it, that's okay too. But, thank you for dinner and the conversation, right? Because men are people, and we're not, we're not here to get free dinners or whatever, the speculation of trying to always hate on us somehow, right? Right. So I wanted the listener to understand, like, this is just so truly powerful. Your journey has just been extraordinary in the space that it's predominantly been in a dark space. And a lot of people also say as we get older that it's hard for us to learn, but that's untrue. Because I feel like a woman after her 40s is her second wind, where she's able, that something happens. If you haven't come home to yourself, then there's something that is going to erupt eventually and say, hey, tap, tap, is this the life you want? Is this who you are? Are you sure? Because now like from this moment, for you, it happened at 45. Like, this is going to be the rest of your life if you do continue down this path. Right, exactly. In that, I did not. I did not want that. So you're exactly right. There comes a moment, and like you said, I feel like the older I keep getting, the more my mind is open to learning and figuring things out. It's like, I love this self-discovery journey because it's like I keep learning things about myself that are so exciting, even though it's hard, because it's not easy. It's not an easy journey. But when you have these breakthroughs and you have these aha moments and these healing moments, it's like, it was worth it. You're like, yes. So then when you're going through another season of trying to, to grow, it can actually become a game where it's fun. You're working on yourself. Yes, and having the knowledge of understanding what's going through you, right? For it to be released, the purging that has to happen, the hard aspects, right? That I'm sure we've been, all of us, on our bathroom floor at some point, crying, begging for someone to hear us. And it's you're like, I'm here, my higher self, you're like, I'm here, what, and then it starts showing up for you in different aspects, like this life coach that showed up for you. At what point, as you're going through, this new journey, right now you've stopped the pattern and you're like, I don't know what's going to happen and what does this mean? And as you're trying to discover yourself in the last 8 years, where did you feel like, what, I want to help others as well traverse these spaces that I've been in? I would say that really, really hit me 3 years ago. Because I broke up. I was in a 2-year relationship in this 8-year period, and that ended about maybe 3 years ago. I don't remember, 3.5 years ago. And after that, I'm like, wow, okay, I thought this was the person. I was, I thought, okay, I had done a little bit of work on myself for 3 years. I was like, okay, everything that I had been through, I'm attracting differently. And it wasn't. And so I really knew at that moment, okay, I really haven't done the work. That it was not that I haven't done the work, there was just still more work to be done. And so healing from that, and really that crushed me. I mean, that literally, if I want to say something like killed my heart, that was it. I mean, the other were different. This was like,
I can't even explain the pain. And it's weird to say it now because I'm so healed from it that I don't feel like I'm talking about me, if that makes sense. So I'm telling you the
Yes.
story because I'm so healed. I'm like,
Yes.
I would never cry or anything right now. Like I'm so healed from it. But in the moment, like for 2 years, I mean, I just cried every day. And I
Mm.
just felt so like, God, I hate you. Like, I don't understand. Like, this
Yeah.
is my person. Look at everything I've been through in my life. My dad, this, that, this, that. You bring me this person. I met him on my dad's birthday. All of these signs. It was everything that I told you I
Right.
wanted. And then it didn't happen. And he was with somebody else behind. And anyways, he left with her. And it left me feeling broken and
Mm.
rejected. There was really no closure. It's like, I'm with her, I'm out, block, gone.
Right.
So that's hard. You've given your heart to someone for
Yeah.
2.5 years, and you're like left after everything, and you're like, okay, I can't even tell you. My heart was in 10 million pieces. And I
Mm.
said, okay, I knew in my heart I was to write a book. I've known in my heart forever that I am to empower women I can't even explain it. I just know I'm a fighter. I know I'm here my purpose is to help other women to get through the things that I've been through.
Right.
And so I really took it seriously 3 years ago. Okay, Valerie, we're going to have to really, I didn't have extra money at this point to get life
Right.
coaches and get and stuff. So it's like, okay, you know what to do. Now you're going to have to do it.
Right.
And, it was just aha moments here and there, like, in this journey of just really working on me. Again, when you said I was a bodybuilder, bodybuilding has been my therapy. So every show that I did,
Mm.
I had these breakthrough moments. And so one of the breakthrough moments that I had that was, just a great breakthrough moment was I've never felt safe to be my
Mm.
authentic self in
Mm.
front of anybody but my kids.
Mm.
Nobody has seen who Valerie is. That I like to laugh, I like to dance, I like to have fun, I like to joke, I like to love, I like to hug. But I've always walked on eggshells. I've always had to be this other person for things. And so just really trying to understand why. Like, why did I get to where I'm at? I know we don't always have answers. And so I'm very grateful that I had this breakthrough because I had created these patterns in my life and I was just really trying to understand it. And one day, I don't even know how, it just hit me that, okay, your dad dies at 12 years old and you never talk about it the next day. You subconsciously learned when something traumatic happens, trauma, the way that you deal with it is it goes under the rug about as fast as it happens
Mm-hmm.
and you move on.
Right.
And so I did this in relationships. When someone would cheat on me or do things, it would be immediately under the rug. It's like, well, where are we going to dinner tonight? Let's go out and have fajitas, my favorite thing. And
Yes.
like literally, I could not physically, emotionally, mentally, or anything address it because I don't know what would happen. I would probably just fall apart. Like
Right.
I just couldn't do it. So just continuously living this lifestyle of putting things under the rug, all these relationships that I went
Right.
through
Yeah.
and, not being my authentic self. So when I started working on my self-love journey, what I found was, so going all the way back to 12 years old, when I stopped being my authentic self, because my dad passes away, I'm having panic attacks,
Yeah.
and now I'm being labeled as shy and quiet in school because
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking to people, I'm not being myself, I didn't have any healing. You attract different friends, you attract different opportunities and all of that. So the first boy that dates me is not the right one, but hey,
Right.
somebody likes me, so I'm going to go out with him. And you just start attracting the things that really aren't for you. And I'm not even going to say these are bad people. They weren't my people because I wasn't living authentic to me. I wasn't showing up who Valerie was created to be in this universe.
Right.
And so I was attracting all these years, and some people that I've talked to, they get so down on themselves. Well, I only attract this and I only attract that, and that's just what my life is meant to be. And it's like, that was used to be me saying that. This is just what I attract. This is just for whatever reason, this is just what I get in life because this is the third round, and this is what Valerie gets. This is just who I am. It's what I attract. And I had to then realize, no, it's not. It's because I need to be safe. And literally, when I went through this journey and this transformation, I lost all my girlfriends.
Yeah.
I literally was alone.
Yeah.
Everybody I lost. I had to find Valerie and be comfortable and safe with being my authentic self. And then when I would slowly meet people or be friends with people at the gym, I was very like intentional, and I'm going to be myself. If I want to say something funny, if I want to do a little silly dance, whatever I want to do, I'm going to be me. Because if they don't like me, it's going to be okay, because I'm going to start over with anybody that gets to meet me or gets to know me. It's just going to be me. You know, I will be my best version, but there are times I get quiet sometimes just because I'm overthinking things, and I'm learning to work on that. But I'm learning that I'm just going to be me and continue to work on the best version of me. And in this process, I realized I did have this aha moment. It was a huge aha moment. I was driving somewhere. I was like, wow, I feel pretty good inside. I feel pretty happy. Like, I feel really like that feeling of when you're just looking for unconditional love. You're just looking for someone to wrap their arms around you, and everything is safe, and you're going to be okay, and everything's going to work out, and you're loved, and you're, you know, just all of those feelings, right? Of just that feeling that I was like, my whole life, I've been looking for that feeling from a man.
Yes.
And I've never received that feeling from a man. But that's the feeling that I was in my head looking to receive from a man. And I'm like, oh my goodness, these light bulbs went on. And I'm like, this is what self-love is. Because I finally love myself. And now that I love myself, I realize I have boundaries, and I don't let people treat me certain ways. And I show up for myself, and I take care of myself, and I work hard for myself, and, you know, I do all the things that before, you know, I just never thought about. And now it's like, okay, now I don't have to find this man to give me this feeling. I have it. So now I can be a whole person, attracting a whole person. And I like to call that a power couple. That's what I just said. You know, when you have two whole people.
Yes.
Connect. I know power couples, and I always look at them and I'm like, wow, like they're two like incredibly separate people, but they come together and they just light the room up wherever they're at. You're like, wow, they're here. Look at them. Like, you can just feel their love and their connection and their, you know, just their passion for each other. And it's like, that is what I want. See, so if you don't know what you want, then how do we ever know what we're striving to have, right?
Right.
And so that's what I realized. Okay, now I know what I want. Now I know what this looks like. Now I know that I can love myself and be me, and not put that pressure on somebody else that you have to make me feel happy. You have to do all these things to make me have this feeling. That's a lot of pressure to put on somebody.
It is, absolutely.
And so I don't want to also attract somebody that I have to do that for them. Like, I want self-love, you know what I'm saying? I want them to know their worth, their value. And so, again, it's just been this journey and this process. But when you take time for yourself, it's amazing the things that just, like you said, maybe it's the higher self telling me, I don't know, sometimes like, where does this come from on these random moments or these random things? But they're huge aha moments of learning moments that I needed to learn and understand and realize, so I can, you know, make the changes and know why I'm making the changes.
Yes, exactly. That's beautiful. That's really, really beautiful. All of, like, I was trying to keep notes on like all the wonderful things you were saying in that, because there's just a lot of gems. Even starting with like losing your friends and how that's important, right? Because you're not vibrating in that space you were in, right? You're not in that frequency, of that lower frequency of not loving yourself, and in that dark space. Now you've leveled up, and every epiphany you're leveling up and and able to see different parts of you, and like, oh, I do like this, and I am this way, and I am, and you're culminating epiphanies as you're learning, right? As you're growing, and then you're the most epiphany moment is like, I unconditionally love myself.
I know, it's such a, I can't even say it was such a weird moment to have that, to like, before I would have said that was selfish, and why would I want to love myself? That just sounds so weird to even say that. And that's why I just would never entertain it. Like I said, my life coach, it was 4 years after she life coached me that I addressed self-love. And she talked to me about self-love in our sessions. And it like went over my head, because I was like, okay, I'm not receiving that, because I love big. I don't need what she's saying on that. Like, I'm not going to be selfish. I'm not going to just love myself. And I just had the whole, I guess I wasn't there. I wasn't ready to understand what it meant.
Yeah.
And it's okay when I talk self-love. If I turn people off, I'm okay, because I was there before and it did
Yes.
rub me the wrong way, but it's planting seeds. And maybe one day, like me, 4 years later, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try to understand this self-love thing a little more, because now I'm ready to, that was after my breakup that I had.
Right.
And okay,
Right.
now I'm ready to, what does this really mean? Because I feel like maybe there's a missing piece here. And that was the missing piece for sure, because I did not have any self-love.
Right? Because even then, right, your grieving process was still so attached to this person, right? The codependency was still so strong, and you had to work through that because even you said it as you're the whole person. You want to know the whole person. At that moment in time, you weren't, because you were putting all of that into this person, and that's why it would hurt so much to let go, because they became a part of you. Right? Coming back to that codependency attachment, which we've all been there, because we all don't have perfect parents and upbringings, and we all have, some form of attachment, codependency, abandonment issues, and obviously the gift now that you're able to see, like, that was a past life, that 2-year relationship, like, that's weird, that was back then, but you're able to see, like, how that person was the mirror for you to see what you still had to work on. And I want to invite women out there, or even men that are doing the work and listening to this, is, if you just broke up with someone and it didn't go well, or you're heartbroken over it, while you're in the mud, it's okay to be in the mud. But as you start to get out a little bit, start to see, what was the lesson? What is it that I still need to heal, the aspects of me that thought that my self-worth was reliant on this other human, and in every way, right? In all the ways that I still am fragmented inside. And to start that journey, that'll lead you into that self-loving space. Obviously, the people that I have on here are here to help you, guide you into that. But as the person listening right now, it is just to plant that seed in you, to start that invitation of questioning, or even if you are in a relationship, think about the way they trigger you. Think about the ways that annoys you or bother you, or those are aspects within you that are there. The trigger is there for a reason. It's there to poke at you and say, hey, this is something you still haven't looked at. You're now looking at that. Hey, so all these different things that you brought up were amazing, because it'll allow, I guess, whoever may be listening, an abstract and like kind of a detached space from listening to your story, right? Because there's not their story, but to have that moment to just say, maybe that past relationship wasn't for me. Maybe it had, teaching me what I needed to learn, and the ways that I was still not healed, and to be whole again. To be whole when we also know we're never whole, right? What does that look like? What does that feel like, right? And that's new, right? It's creepy. You're like, what?
Yeah. And I feel like it's a lifelong journey, so we never arrive. So even as I write my books, I'm writing my second book, and it's so different than my first book because I've learned so much. And I go back to my first book, and I'm like, I don't know if I would really say that again. But in the moment of writing it, that's who I was. That's where I was. That was my story. That's how I was able to get out of what I was in and to grow. And so I feel like, and then now the second book I'm writing, I'm learning and growing through. And now I have other things coming up. So nobody's perfect. We never like arrive like, oh my goodness, I've got it all figured out, because no, we don't have it figured. We don't have it all figured out.
We don't.
But when we do learn and from our mistakes, or just we've just learned from the things that we've done, and we can take it as learning moments to change, I feel like that's the reason for, like you said, I had to have learning moments over and over again. Like, what do they say? You'll keep getting the same lesson over and over again until you actually learn it. It'll just come in different forms. And I feel like that's what it was. I was needing to learn this lesson. And I'm very stubborn, and I'm very hard-headed, and I don't like rules, and I don't like guidelines, and I'm going to figure it out myself. And so I feel like it was like, okay, Valerie, like how much longer do you like to be on this roller coaster, because you need to figure this out for your own good.
Yeah.
And but I think we're just always learning and growing.
Yes, always. What is your astrological sign?
Aries.
Ah, the fire. Yes, you're like, I ain't having it. It makes sense. That's why I asked the fieriness, but that is truly powerful. It really is truly powerful to come to that space. That's why I was so quiet when you told me everything. I was like, oh, Lee, how this woman's amazing. Because yes, we're going through our journey, and yes, you've been able to look back and in retrospect of these situations and these relationships and the 8-year journey in the past, right? The past 8 years for you, but as you're traversing and loving yourself, to see and be in that community now, you're inviting new people into your life, new friends, and you even, I'm sure your clients reflect some aspects of you while you're working with them, right?
Yeah. Yes, I would say yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It is interesting how that happens, because we're all mirrors of each other, right? Mm-hmm. And so, like, I didn't live your life and you didn't live mine, but because we are all connected, and when you have that openness in yourself, it's easy to like feel into someone's journey and have such deep respect for what they had to go through and become this beautiful star that's in front of me. And as we complement each other, it's just a mirror reflection, and to be here in the now, it's just truly remarkable. And I will say something though, I do love when you talk about yourself, that the way you use certain words about your journey and how you're still healing and you're still learning is really important. Because what you're doing is cast spelling in a positive way to yourself, instead of saying, oh, I don't know, I'm trying, this is hard. Or, no, you're like, no, this is an ever evolving space. Right. And by the way that you describe it, you're welcoming more into your life.
Right. I feel like this is just the beginning. Like where I'm at today, I'm just going to keep changing and growing and learning and being able to help other people and let my fear down, my walls down. I'm no different than anybody else. Right. I still have the fears and the things everybody else has, but the more I feel like the stronger my unconditional self-love gets, the more self-confidence I feel like I have, and then the more courage I have to do the hard things, and the belief in myself that you can do this, you can get out here, you can get on these podcasts, you can speak at places, you can the belief system. But again, like, it's the foundation of it is learning your authentic self.
Right.
And on my journey, what I have found is when I found my authentic self and I walk in it, like every other area of my life just seems to be working its way out. Like, and I still have the same struggles people have. We could sit down and talk, but I feel like when you get to this place of your authentic self, you're able to think clearer and make better decisions. And how, okay, so we have this problem. Okay, what are the solutions? Okay, I could do this, or this. And I don't take it to where before I would take all these hardships to heart and like carry them and poor me and why me and I can't, and oh my goodness, I just say that and I feel so heavy, right? Like, but when you come to the place and you're able to just, okay, what is this we have to deal with? Okay, and you just know, okay, this is not life-threatening, it's not the end of the world, and it's just you're able to just work through it and move on to next, and it just makes life a lot more peaceful. So I feel like that's where the peace comes too. You're not having to worry, and you just have a knowing, you believe in yourself, you've got it, this is going to work out. And also, like we talked about, you start connecting with the right people. We need each other. That's one thing. I know we're almost done here, but I do want to share this real quick, because it's one thing that I really have found on my journey. I was an I person, because I had to take care of me. Nobody else ever took care of me. I had to take care of me. I have to pay my bills. I have to do this. I have to do that. I have to clean my house. I have to work. I have to cook. I have to clean. I have to do the yard. I, right? So I built this island that I lived on of I. And I realized I had to let that go, because we need each other. We need community. We need friendships. We need people. We need networking.
Yes.
But the right people, the right networking, the right opportunities. And again, that goes back to your authentic self. When you are showing up the way you are to show up. And I have now found the right women and the right networking groups and the right people. And I no longer live this I life. And I've also learned about what it means to be a queen and live in your queendom feminine space and just do the things that I can do, and then just sit back as the queen and know I'm going to attract what is meant to be mine. And that feeling of just knowing it's all going to work out. I put everything out there that I can put out there. I'm not going to get in my masculine energy and just pound the doors down, because that's not what I'm called to do. Right. And it's just weird how all of these things, I learn these lessons, these things come as I've been on my journey, but nothing has come before I was ready to receive it. So I know we spoke about a lot that I've been through, but it has been 8 years, and I have literally every single day for 8 years, I have done something, listened to a podcast, listened to a book, read something that, like, the journey has been, I've never given up on myself. It's been a daily thing. And so as I'm ready to receive things, I'm like, oh, okay, why did it take me so long to learn this? But obviously it wasn't my time. I've learned some other things. So the order that I learned things in, when I look back, I'm like, that's a weird order to learn this in. But it's just because I wasn't ready. So it's been a fun journey, actually, even though it's not been fun. It's been fun. I tell people I don't want to repeat it. Like we said, it's hard. You know, when you invest in yourself and you work on yourself, we're making light of it. I have had many, I can't even name how many nights I've cried myself to sleep. I've just been like holding my pillow, like, okay, this hurts so bad inside. This doesn't feel like it's getting better, but I know I'm saying my positive affirmations, I'm doing my meditating, I'm doing all the things, and I'm just going to have to trust. And that was hard for me because I did not have any trust. Right. And I just had to keep trusting the process. Get up every day, show up for yourself, find that self-love. And for me in the beginning, it was such baby steps, and that's okay. It's just doing something that's you wouldn't normally do. Like in the beginning, I would never listen to a motivational podcast or you know, and there's times I'll listen to one, okay, that one's not for me. And I'll scroll through and listen, that's not for me. I'll scroll through and all of a sudden I'll hit one like, oh, wow, okay, I really needed to hear that today. You know, so you just never know what's going to hit you or how you're going to have that aha moment of, wow, okay, that, you know, I needed to hear that. But yeah, that's
so beautiful.
Been a journey.
So beautiful. Yes. And I love the island.
I didn't even realize I was doing that till one of the ladies I was working with that does a lot of energy work, she's like, you say I a lot. Like, it's all about you. And we need to start thinking about this because you need connection. We were designed, like, you know, you come from a person, you know, you're given birth to a person. Like, we're connected. We're all connected. Like you said, we need connection. And I was the biggest isolator. Like, I would isolate myself from people. I didn't need, like, I would just, if you didn't see me around, you knew I was going through stuff because I would don't come around. And that's probably one of the worst things that you can do. Even though I did it a lot on my journey, you don't realize that we need connection.
Right. When we're hermiting, when we're hurting, we're like the cats. When we're hurting, we hide. That's what cats do. Exactly. But it is important because the I aspect is not to say we don't use it, right? It's just more saying that by saying it so much is what you're doing is keeping yourself in a victim mentality. Right. Right. And that's what I wanted the listener to understand a little bit, because we're always going to say, I am this and I am in that. But when you're saying it, when it's keeping you in a negative loop of, you know, this has happened to me and I, you know, and it's just seeing it, right? So as you vocalized it and shared it, it's another invitation for the listener. I love life is all full of invitations. We always have the opportunity, right, to say, you know, even podcasts, right? If you're listening to a podcast about finance, right, you have time for that, but make time for a podcast about self-care, self-discovery, or, you know, a podcast like this, but, you know, just more of something that might nourish you, because we don't learn about nourishing our own selves and it could be the soul, the body, or the mind, just giving back. It's not always about paying out to get something from someone. It's about your habits, right? And I also wanted to bring up that, as you went through this ginormous transformation, you were able to reconstruct the neurons in your brain, right? The pathways. You were able to release patterns that are super duper for years old and let that go and rewrite the patterns in your brain for something better. And that's a big deal. That's a big deal, because that's not easy task, because some people's brains are unable to, just the way the wiring is. And so there's other ways that are out there to help you, it's called neuroplasticity, to just malleably change the way that you live, and it's possible. And you've had help, but we all need help. And back to the community, we can't do it alone. We think we should, because we were also taught that, right? Like, no one should. You keep your authenticity to yourself because you've been judged, or you've been felt small. You hide because you weren't seen in your pain. So all these aspects, when there are people out there who are willing to listen to your story and hear you and comfort you and love you when you're not at your best, right? Because no one's perfect. Like you were saying, no one's perfect.
Right.
We're not going to be the same person twice in every day. And, as you know, when you find your person, there's still work there, but now you're in a better place where you both can have this amazing communication on healing and helping each other, right? Versus the attachment, right, of like, but you're gonna answer that void in me, like, that's you. And I love that you brought that up at somewhere in the beginning of this conversation, how it is so unfair to put that onto someone, right? But we don't realize that until you see it, until you realize, like, hey, this isn't fair for me to emotionally dump on someone and project everything and have them be the answer to everything that I am needing, which is you. You are the answer to yourself. The other person is just like the community. We're here to support. We can't save you. We can't do the work for you. That has to be you, right?
Right. Yep.
So I love all of your everything was just so amazing. What is the community offering? What do you I know you said you're a life coach. I wanted you to share a little bit about that and your books as well.
Okay. Yeah. I love life coaching people because I love helping them, have their aha moments too. And I very much individualize each life coaching, package that I do with people. There's a basic, framework that I will work with. But the first session, I really like to just take that hour. And usually I even go an hour and a half in an hour session, just because I want to really get to know the person, where they're coming from, what's been holding you back, what do you think is your biggest, we all have our biggest weakness. What do we think that, our hurdle is? And, just really, really getting on a page where I really understand where they're at, and then understand what they're wanting to accomplish, because it's not about me. I could say, oh, well, you should do this, this, and this.
Right.
And, like, get you going on this path of where I think you should go. But just really letting them be heard and then be very clear on, okay, so, and then I do my package around that. So it's a 6-week I like to say at least a 6-week program. That's what I like to start with, because there's more, but I really think 6 weeks, that's such a short time when we have all of these life things to just, be together 1 hour through Zoom for 6 weeks. But there's a lot of people that I've had that have gone on they just keep going on, and then some have only done the 6 week, because that's like where I was at. That's all I could do. I've written a couple programs. One I really, really like to talk about is just a program I wrote. It's called Who Am I? And we just really talk about just all kinds of things. What are your passions? What are your hobbies? What are you good at? What are your strengths? What is your love language? What is your personality? Just really getting them to really think of who they are, and not, because I know for myself, I did not realize till looking back how much I was told to be a person. You're raised as a kid. Many people I talk to are like, yeah, I did these sports all through college and high school because I was just told that as a kid, this is what you're doing. And they had me in all of the sports and the activities, and I didn't want to let them down. So I just did what I was told. And, and then they got into relationships where they were just kind of told what to do and how to act and stand like this and wear that and show up like this. And, you get to a certain point that you're like, wow, okay. I can only be a people pleaser for so long, or most people can. And so I really enjoy coaching the people that are in those spaces, or maybe I have a lot of women that come to me, their kids went off to college from high school, and now they're empty nesters. And some divorce them, and some divorce at that time and some don't, but they both come to me in a common thing of saying, I don't even know who I am. I've done all of these tasks my whole life, and now what? My husband works, he's usually got his job, and so there's just all different reasons that we come to places in life that we're kind of stuck. Like, who am I? How do I navigate through this? So just having that coach to help, so that is my definite passion. I do have my book that I did write. It came out last October in 22, and that was my journey of how I went from complete brokenness to getting on my path of finding self-confidence. And that was my first journey of the things that I did. And I wrote it very basic, so that book was written what you would say, I wrote it in a way to how, when I was so broken, if you would have handed me a big complicated book, I'd be like, okay, look, I need like the ABCs, the 1, 2, 3s, because I can't even process. So it is very basic written. Each chapter is on a certain topic, just very easily written out with some notes behind it. So like, I have one chapter that's on limiting beliefs and what all that means and what they are. And it gives you to think about, maybe you've been telling yourself things like, well, my family never had money, so I'm never to have money, or I didn't go to college and get a degree, so I can't make X amount of dollars, or I'm too old, or I'm too, we have all of these beliefs, and we can't change them until we identify them. And they're big things that hold us back. So like I said, each chapter just has for people to think about something, have their little note section. I wrote a goal setting formula in there, because once you kind of get on this path of like, okay, you're ready to do some things. I know I have ADD, so I'm like, I can set all these goals. Right. But how do I accomplish them? Right. So I wrote a goal setting thing in there. And then my kids shared a little bit. We didn't talk about my kids. I have 4 kids, and how them seeing me broken and in the places that I was in, how it affected them. I had kids that were on drugs and jail and different things. It was very, very hard to go through as a mother. And how today they're all like, I can't even say, I'm so proud of my kids. They've all healed by just watching my journey. I've never told them to do anything. They've just healed, and a couple of them are still on their journey, but they've healed. They're all working, doing good. So that's all in my book. And then at the end, I give a 30-day challenge, because okay, now you heard all this, now what? Okay, for 30 days, these are some things I'd like you to think about and try to do. And then see after the 30 days, do you see any change? Do you see any change in your self-talk? Did you notice your self-talk? Because for myself, when you say I changed my neural pathways, like you said, we're all different. I really began by my positive affirmations. And I know some people say that can help, and maybe sometimes it doesn't. But for me, it did. I could not say I am beautiful. Like I couldn't even get the words off my tongue. Like I couldn't even get the word out to say it in the beginning. And so because of the relationships I came out of and the things I was told around that I wasn't beautiful, and I could never find another man, and nobody will ever want me. And so for me to say I am beautiful, it took me 4 years to say it. And then it took me another 2 to say it, where I can say I am beautiful and mean it, because your body knows when you mean it. Right. But it was literally 6 years of and so I talk about that in there, your positive affirmations you're going to say every morning. And I know some are hard, and it's like people tell me, but I don't believe that, I'm lying. No, you're reprogramming, like you said, because you are beautiful. Why would you think you're not? Why did I think I wasn't beautiful? I literally thought when I divorced, I was the most unattractive person that was ever born. I really thought that. And I know people look at me and are like, okay, that's about ridiculous. But when you truly feel that to your core, it's a very hard place. Like you can't even explain it, because you're just like, I'm just worthless. And if I look like that, then I would be happy. And if I could be that weight, I would be happy. And I mean, you have all these things. If I look like that, I have no problems. And then you're just thinking, it's just very twisted, right?
It is twisted because in the facade we look a certain way to people, but inside, because we've been through such darkness, that there's no way you could believe that. It's kind of like a rose, right? We all think roses are beautiful, but let's say this rose is a conscious rose, and all her life she's been told that she's just weeds. That she's just weeds and just trash and like nothing important. So the rose is going to believe that it's just not important and not a rose and not beautiful and not worthy and da 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 da. So it makes all the sense. And like when you mention your kids, the saying is be the change you want to see in the world. So by osmosis, by you embodying your truth, because they are your children, they can feel that resonance coming and out of you and just affect them energetically, right? Because they're in your life, and so that's just naturally. And because what you're doing is going into the light, you're going into this unconditional loving space, and any child wants that for their mother, and any child wants that for themselves and receive it from their mother. So it's just like it's a win-win, for all. And I can only imagine how strong they are and resilient and kind and brave and intelligent, because you are.
They're amazing. One day I'm going to have them. A couple of them said when I speak places, they'll come with me to share, because it's really it's very impactful when you can hear your kids tell you as teenagers why they were on drugs, why they were doing what they were doing, because the home life wasn't right, and they were watching me be treated wrong, and the turmoil and I didn't think any of that, because we lived in a 6,000 square foot home. I drove a $200,000 car. Well, I give you the Amex. What are you even talking about? You have a good life. But I was missing it. I was complete. That's not what they needed. And they didn't see me happy, and they didn't see me. It affected them. And I had no clue until I went on my journey. And when I did, when I did decide I was going to do life coaching for real, I got my coaching certification like 7 years ago. But when I decided I'm going to do it almost 2.5 years ago, I started with my kids. I asked them, I said, can I Zoom you in?
Yeah.
And I want to start with you guys, because I want my family to, at least that we are, a whole. And I would have never learned these things about my kids had I not given them the safe space to talk and share. I mean, what kids talk and share in a safe space to your parents?
Right.
And I had to bite my tongue on a lot of things and let my ego down, because they're sharing, and that's what they took away from the experience. And when you go through trauma in a family, it's very common. Like I have 4 kids. Every single one of them saw it a different way. You would have thought that there was 4 different scenarios that happened. It was one, and they all saw it completely different.
Right.
And they all have to heal completely different. So if I were to come in and say, oh, you're wrong. No, I'm going to get your brother and your sister over here, because that is not what happened. And that's what we want to do. Our ego, like we want to be like, oh, I'm right. But where does that get your child to heal? What does that, what does that do? So I had to realize I have to let each of my kids have their say, what they want to say, whether I agree with what they're saying or not, and let them heal and let them feel heard and let them know that it's a safe space and they can share. And I learned so much about my kids, and we have the best relationship. All my kids will probably tell you I'm their best friend, but I'm also not. I'm their mom too, so I'm not that. I'm saying like I am their mom. They, they have that respect there, but they probably would tell you I'm their best friend.
Building this relationship with yourself strengthens the relationship with your family and with your kids. And I love how you use them. Like, all right, I need to practice. Let's get in here. But what you were doing is also, when you were holding your ego, curbing your ego, you were allowing them to be seen and heard, which all of us as kids are dying for that from our parents, to be seen and heard. And you gave that to them. It wasn't when they were kids, but they still got it. And so what they were able to do is heal, right? They were able to heal those aspects when they weren't validated and seen or heard then. But now, and having this, so it makes sense that you all have this beautiful close relationship and friendship, which is truly important for the not only your growth but together. And when you go on, I would love to know when you go speak somewhere and they go on and share their story, it's going to really blow people's minds. I can already tell.
They have a lot to say. They're very insightful, and I think it does help people who are in situations to see and realize. because I never would have seen that as a parent. I mean, every parent wants the best for their kids. We're not out there just trying to hurt our kids, you know. We're doing the best in the relationships that we're in, but when you can go back and really see it and then be vulnerable enough to share it so you can help other people to, even like you said, if you're planting seeds, and I'm just kind of planting these moments of, you know, and also if you did mess up like I did and you did your kids that way, to know there is a way to still heal, and it's not the end, because you know, my son does talk in my book. He's like his only two, what do you want to say, places that he was going to end up was going to be in prison or the graveyard. And he meant that because that's the path he was on. It was bad. And it was very very hard on me as a mother too, to watch that and to have no control over it. And then to also know that, you know, I am, not that I caused it, but that I was a part of why he was down that path. So when I had to do my forgiveness and my things, the last thing I did was the hardest thing, was to forgive myself. Because I went through all those stages, and I forgave everybody. I forgave everybody that did everything to me, but I still cried. Even I think I didn't even heal from this till maybe 2 years ago. I just would cry, and when certain things would go, I'd cry to my kids, and I'm so sorry. And they're like, "Mom, please stop crying. Like, we've healed. We're good. We're past all this." But I couldn't get past it because I'm like, yeah, but I allowed this, and you know, your life would have been different if I would have done things differently. And so I finally did work through that, and I was able to heal. But you know, we're on this journey, so I don't know, but I just feel like, you know, in this whole process, for whatever reason, I'm listening to my heart and following my intuition, and in being willing to be vulnerable, even when it's not easy, because I am not a vulnerable person, and I've had to work on that. There's a chapter in my book on that. I was the queen of putting walls up. And when you put walls up, it's because you were vulnerable and got hurt. And so you're like, I'm never doing that again. And I had to realize, if I want love and success in my life, those walls have to come down. And so I purposely let people in, let people see my story in different things. And it's been in pieces. So my first podcast, I've been doing this for like 3 months now, on 3 to 4 podcasts a week, a lot of times. In the beginning, I would just talk about the how-tos or how I got somewhere, and I wouldn't tell these stories because I just wasn't really healed, or I'm like, I don't want people to know like all this stuff, you know? So it's like little by little, I'm more and more letting my walls down. And probably this podcast, I would have to say, I've shared more than I've shared in any other podcast. So I can see that each time I'm healing a little more, to be a little more vulnerable, to help people to realize that, you know, it's if I can share a story that it helps somebody, then it's worth it.
Yes, definitely. And you know, when I do this, I always energetically create a safe space, so that way you're able to just forwardly share, and people are like, "Oh, what's going on?" It's me. It's my. I have this ability. You know, it's
good. I can feel it.
It's important to feel that, because you know, what I'm asking of you is something very personal and vulnerable, and it needs to be heard, because there are people out there that are going through what you're going through, with their walls and their darkness and everything that in between. And you know, when your child speaks on your story, would it also help mothers out there to, you know, I'm sure and I'm sure you've had this, because even up to recently, where you're like self-abusing, like, oh, I wasn't good, I wasn't, and you still have to work through that, and the child is giving you the inspiration that, no, we have, and we're good now, you have to let go now of that aspect. And that's truly remarkable and powerful. And you wrote a book, now you're writing another one, and you know what I mean, it's like, whoa, amazing. And I love how you created the book, because you had the understanding, like, when I was coming out of the darkness, if someone just dumped positivity on me, I would so reject it. And I would not allow any of it, not even a seedling, right? So you understood that by making it very light and basic, just like, here's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So
topics to think about. I'm kind of sharing on this, and I love the thing when people will reach back out to me that read my book. They'll say, "Oh, I read your thing on let's just say letting walls down," and they'll share their story, and it's really not anything I even said in the book, but it's what they took away from it, because their journey's different than mine. And I love that, because our journeys aren't the same. And I always kind of giggle inside, like, that's not even what I said, but hey, that really helped you. I'm so happy, like, because
Right.
it got you thinking about the topic.
Correct, and that's the point,
Right.
right? So very, very well done, and kudos to you. You know, I've said this throughout this whole conversation, but yes, am so proud and I'm so grateful that you came on here and shared your story. And you know, from moving forward, you're just gonna keep growing and glowing, because you're the queen, and you don't have to get off your throne for no one,
Right.
because you've worked so hard to even look at yourself and say, I am whatever, I am beautiful, I am a queen, I am a goddess, I am worthy of unconditional love, right? And these aspects, that it takes a moment. I know a lot of people that feel that way, where like, oh, I'm saying it but I don't believe it, and it's just like, just keep doing it, and
Right.
it'll eventually punch through, and you'll be like, oh, this is, and you have everyone will have their own revelations and all that amazing thing. Valerie, my dear, where can people find you?
So everything that I have as my handle is Maximizing Life. So it's MAKSYM, my last name.
Yeah.
So maximizinglife.com is my website. My Instagram, my Facebook, my TikTok handles are all Maximizing Life. My LinkedIn, I think it's just under my name, Valerie Maksym. But yeah, so
I
just
love the play on
find me.
words. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing. So before I let you go, if there's anything that calls to you that you think the listener should take away from today, that you think it may be important?
Just know that you're enough, and live life in your lane, and really be mindful to stop comparing yourself to other people, comparing yourself to their journey, like, well, they're further ahead, or you have different gifts, you have different talents, and you have to just look within you and be the best you that you can be, and really take that pressure off of comparing, because there are things that you bring to this world that nobody else can bring, and you're needed. So let your gifts and talents shine through, because there's people that need to see that.
Beautiful, beautiful. Wow. Thank you again for sharing your time, your energy, your light with us. And the listener, thank you for listening on this beautiful conversation and expanding with us and creating a new space in life with us. And as always, remember that the breath is the secret, and always lead with love. Thank you for tuning in, and until next time.